Hello, in this video I wanted to record a follow-up to the Monday workshop since the discussion went a bit long and we ran out of time in the live coding. So to refresh your memory, if you were in this workshop, we had our tab bar controller with the color chooser view controller we'd set up and the orange view controller. What I want to do is insert a new view controller here into the navigation. So I'm going to grab one of these, and for this view controller I'm going to put it here, and I'm going to change the navigation a bit. So I'm going to redirect it so that this new view controller is part of our tab bar controller. And because I want to have this original color view controller as part of this, I'm going to embed this new view controller in a navigation stack, a navigation controller. We can set the icon for this. I'll rearrange these two. So let's find the bar item for this, and I'll set it to colors, and I'll set it to be the paint palette. Okay, so this new view controller we've created, I'm going to create a small view which is just going to be a rectangle to hold some color. We'll give this a background color so that we can see it. I'll just give it the same purple that we had here. And for this, I'll just make it a rectangle for the moment. And I'm going to put on here a button. And I'll just use a standard tinted button. So I'll put this here. I'm going to change the text in it to be choose color. And we'll have this button here. Now what we're going to do with this button is we're going to control drag on it to the new view controller and choose the show action segue. When I do this, we can see that this view becomes part of the navigation stack. We can see it has a back button. So I'm going to give a title to each of these from the navigation item. I'm going to call this selected color. I'm going to change this one and call it choose color, which is an instruction to the user. And I'm going to run this. So when I run this, I can now click choose color. It goes to this item in the navigation stack. I can click the back button. We go back, go forwards. I can drag from the sidebar and reveal this. And at any point, I can hit the other tab and go to the tab or come back to our color one. Okay, but what we would really like to do now is set up a delegation relationship so that we have a way of communicating when the color here changes. We want to let this early view controller know and set the selected color. So how do we do that? Well, we want to make this first view controller a delegate of the color chooser view controller. So when the color changes, the delegate is notified and it can do whatever it wants with that knowledge that the color has now changed. So how do we do that? Well, let's first set up a protocol. In my choose color view controller, I'm going to set up a new protocol and say color changed and we're going to call it delegate because that's what we often name protocols where we're delegating some relationship to another class, some responsibility to another class. And the delegate needs to be told that the color has changed. So I'm going to create a method and call it color has changed to, or I could call it user has selected and then color, and we'll say color, and color here will be a UI color. It doesn't need to return anything, so that's our protocol. Now we need to keep a reference in this class to whichever class is acting as the delegate. So I'm going to say var delegate, and the delegate needs to be of the type of this protocol we just created. So I'm going to say color change delegate, and there may be a delegate, but there may also not be one. So I'm going to make this an optional. If there is no delegate, we don't need to notify the delegate. If there is one, we want to call this method whenever our slider color changes. So here's where that happens. So what we want to do here is if there's a delegate, we call that delegate and we call the color has changed method, and we pass it the new color that the user has selected with the sliders. Now you'll notice that it has added a question mark here, and that's because delegate is an optional. And this is a syntax where if the value of this variable is nil, then anything after the dot here, the call to any methods, becomes a no op. It just does nothing at all. If delegate has a value and it's not nil, then this method gets called on that instance. So it understands the type, and this just conditionally calls delegate, and it silently fails if it can't be called. So we've done everything we need to on this side of the relationship. Now what we want to do is this first view controller, which I just created. I realize I don't yet have a class for it, so let's go ahead and do that. So here's a new class, CocoaTouch view controller, and I'm going to call it first. First view controller. We'll create it here. We'll go into our storyboard and we'll select this view controller and set its custom class to be first view controller. So now that's done, with my first view controller, I'm going to need an outlet. So let's go in here, let's create an outlet here. Oh, come on, let's go back to the top. And call this color view. Okay, now what we want to do is have this class, the selected color one, conform to our protocol. So I'm going to enter here color change delegate, so it now will conform to this. Now when we build it, the compiler says there's a problem, and the problem here, well, okay, the problem here, oh, what have I done? Expected color change delegate. Oh, okay. I did not realize. So this first view controller UI inherits from UI view controller, and there should be a comma here. It's late at night. This is the danger of making a video then. Anyway, let's fix that problem. Even so, the compiler complains. It says, first view controller doesn't conform to the protocol, and it says, do you want to add protocol stubs? So we can allow it to fix that, and we get this delegate method. Color has changed too. So this is how we're going to be notified. What do we need to do? Well, when we get a new color, we get our color view, we set its background color, and we set it equal to whatever color's been passed to us. So that bit's good. We can run this. What we find though is that we can set a color here, but it doesn't work. And it doesn't work because we've never actually told this second view controller who its delegate is. So it has nil for its delegate, so it never notifies any delegate. How do we do that? Well, there's a neat method that you can implement. It always exists. It just does nothing by default. And that is to prepare for a segue that's happening. So in our storyboard, we're going to pick up this segue here, and we're going to give it a name and call it choose color segue. I'm going to copy that just so I don't make a mistake with it. And in this prepare for segue method, we have a chance to do something before a transition happens to the new view controller. So I'm going to say if the segue identifier is equal to color choose segue, then we want to do this. And what we want to do is first get a reference to the choose color view controller, because we want to set the delegate property of this. So how do we do that? First we say let this, you could call it destination, or we could call it choose color view controller is equal to segue.destination. Now the segue.destination is a generic UI view controller class, but we know this class will always be that choose color view controller we have here. So we can cast this, and we can do it as a force cast safely, and we can change this to choose color view controller. Now, because we've set it to this particular type, this variable here will allow us to set a property on it, the delegate property particularly. So here it is, and we can see that it's color change delegate. So our method that conforms to that is the one we're in, i.e. self. So if we set it to self, so basically what we've done is we know the segue is happening. If the identifier is choose color segue, as if it's transitioning from here to here, we get the destination, this one. We set a property on it called delegate, and we set the delegate to be the thing that view controller we're in, which is this one. So this class here, or this view controller, is the one that's going to be notified when a change is made to the sliders here. And that way when we go back to it, it will have the color set. So let's just prove to ourselves that this works. We run this, we go here, we change the color to something, and when we go back, it is indeed red. So we can change it to full green, and we see that that works. Okay, thanks for watching. You'll find the code at this completed stage on Moodle.